We meet a paradox every hour of the day. We try to win the argument with a neighbor, win the debate in our own heads, win the case for why we are the injured one. And we imagine that somewhere beyond that victory lies a quiet meadow called peace. But when the verdict is rendered and we have been right, oh, how right we are! Not in the meadow. We are in a courtroom with no windows, rehearsing appeals. Why is that? Because peace is not the reward for being right. Peace is the nature of God, present, whole, undivided. And we cannot arrive at an undivided presence by practicing division. Listen carefully and hold this as a law of spirit. Peace begins the moment judgment ends, not 5 minutes hence, not after they apologize, not after we correct the world, but at the instant we withdraw our sentence. The invasion of our mind by war is over. Judge not, that ye be not judged, the Master said. He was pointing to a principle, not a morality tale. When I judge, I must first split the universe in two, me and you, good and evil, for and against, and then I must defend my half. That is mental warfare. That is the impossibility of abiding. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. How shall we dwell if every few minutes we vacate the secret place to sit as magistrate over creation? Now, of course, you will say, but something wrong has happened, and it may be so on the surface of events. Yet peace is not magic, not denial, not closing the eyes to conduct. Peace is a turning, an inner act that refuses to confer power upon the wrong. Be not afraid. God is. In that awareness, we lay down the gavel. In that awareness, we stop energizing the picture with our condemnation. In that awareness, the one presence reclaims the foreground, and we discover that conflict was not resolved, it was unfed. Be still and know that I am God. Be still does not mean be passive. It means cease dividing, cease judging, and know. As long as we entertain judgment, we are not at home. We are squatting in the outer courts, quarreling with shadows. We cannot at once say, thy kingdom come, and secretly hold our own tribunal against God's child. Do you see? The moment we judge, we affirm two powers, a power to harm us and a power we must summon to counter it. Two powers is the seed of fear. Fear is the atmosphere of war, and war cannot pray. But one power, God, is the air of peace, and peace prays itself as us when we stop breaking the whole into parts and naming one of them enemy. We are not asked to win. We are asked to release. We are not asked to fix the world by being more correct. We are asked to return to God's government by refusing the office of judge. Neither do I condemn thee, said the Master to a very visible wrongdoing. What happened then? The energy of grace had room to move. So with us, when we abandon condemnation inwardly, even when our lips are silent but our mind is noisy, grace finds a way through the tangle, and we find ourselves resting where we had strained. Remember this and try it in the next 10 minutes, not tomorrow. The feeling of conflict that rides you is not your identity. It is the echo of a verdict you are still reading. Close the book, withdraw the verdict, end judgment, and you will discover that peace was not late. We were. Abide in the Word, and let the Word abide in you. God is. God is. God is. In that repetition, something yields. The courtroom grows quiet. The door to the secret place swings on its noiseless hinge, and we are home Now we must come to the simple interior act by which all of this becomes living instead of lecture. The hidden truth, hidden only because we run so fast past, it is this. The very moment you notice judgment, you are no longer its captive. To notice is to stand at the door of the secret place. To notice is grace knocking. We imagine judgment has us by the throat, but as soon as we become aware I am judging, we have already stepped one pace back from the scene into the presence that observes. The kingdom of God is within you. In that withinness, you see what is occurring. In that withinness, you are free to choose again. How do we choose? 3 movements: quiet, interior, almost like the turning of a leaf in a still garden. Notice, name, release. First, notice the tightening. It may show up as a hot face, a clench in the stomach, the rehearsed speech forming behind the teeth. Do not fight it. Do not justify it. Do not analyze it. Simply notice, there is tightening in me. Second, name it, not the person, not the offense. Name the activity in you. This is judgment, not truth, not God, not spiritual discernment, judgment. As we name it, something in us disidentifies. We remember, I am not this storm. I am the awareness in which the weather is passing. Third, release. How? By dropping the case, by declining the bench, by letting the breath fall out, and with it the verdict. No speeches to yourself, no catalog of their errors or your virtues, just an inward Father and a soft consent. Be still and know that I am God. In that moment, the machinery stops. Be not afraid. God is. Now, of course, you will protest. But if I release judgment, am I not approving wrong? No, we are not asked to approve any wrong on earth. We are asked to stop granting our judgment the seat of authority in heaven. Remember, our condemnation is not law. It is noise. Neither do I condemn thee did not mean thy act was right. It meant God's government is not extended by my wrath. So with us, when we remove our judgment from the throne, we are not declaring wrong to be right. We are confessing that God alone is judge, law, life, love. And when love is allowed to be love in us, wisdom finds its own ways of correction without hate, guidance without heat, boundaries without bitterness. This is the interior pivot. There is a point so small it can be missed between heartbeats where judgment drops and stillness appears. Not an idea of stillness, not a theological stillness, but the felt hush of presence. My peace I give unto you. Not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Not as the world, meaning not as a trophy of victory, not as a payment for being right, but as a presence that was never absent. We do not make peace, we uncover it by ceasing to cover it. And what covers it? Our rehearsals, our verdicts, our 2-column accounting of sins and merits. Let them fall. Be not afraid. God is. Try this in the next interruption, not the next century. The email arrives with its sting. Sense the tightening. Notice. The mind drafts the reply in fire. Name it. This is judgment. Then release. Close your eyes, if you can, for one breath. God is. Again. God is. Let the shoulders fall. Let the case close without a bang. In a minute, you will know what to do or to say nothing. You can't use truth, but truth can use you. In the releasing, truth begins to have a channel, and if there is to be a correction made in the outer, it will be moved by peace, not by war. Do this 10 times today, quietly, privately. Go and tell no man. You will discover that mental warfare needs your jurisdiction to continue. Withdraw it, and the battle dissolves for lack of a judge. Let the peace of God rule in your hearts. Let it rule not by effort, but by consent. Notice, name, release. Then abide a moment more than is comfortable, so that the word can abide in you. God is, God is, God is. And in that simple consenting, we find that we had not lost peace. We had only been speaking over it. Now let us ask a very simple question, and let it stand between us like a lamp. Why does judgment feel so necessary, so charged with duty, so righteous? If peace is the fruit of ending judgment, why then do we cling to the gavel as to a lifeline? The answer quietly, humbly, is that judgment feeds on a false creed that most of us have never dared to name. We believe in two powers. We say with our lips, God is good, but in our bones we whisper, yes, but this situation is real evil. And so we split the sky. We try to hold God in one hand and our fear in the other, and then we appoint judgment as our policeman to patrol the border between the two. That is why it feels necessary. It is propping up a divided universe. Now, of course, we would not say this aloud. We are religious. We know the verse. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. We have read, I am the Lord, and there is none else. But when danger flashes on the screen of our senses, the old catechism of two powers awakens. A power to hurt and a power to help. A power loose in the world and a power we must summon to combat it. In that instant, we leave the secret place. In that instant, peace retreats to the background of our awareness, not because it is gone, not because God has vacated the throne, but because we have consented to another throne. Thou couldst have no power over me, said the Master, except it were given from above. There are not two powers, God is. You see, judgment is our attempt to manage a world we secretly think is outside of God. If I believe that evil has a separate life, a separate cause, a separate law, then I had better be busy condemning, defending, and arranging, or else that alien power will win. That is the hidden engine under our inner warfare. But listen carefully. It isn't that God will someday defeat a rival. It isn't that God must heal a thing that has life of its own. It is only that the supposed rival has no law, no life, no cause, resists not evil, does not command passivity. It reveals that resistance grants substance to what has none. Judgment, then, is resistance wearing a robe. Ending judgment is the simple act of withdrawing our consent from a lie. Let me make this very plain. When a report comes that seems to threaten your good, the mind rushes forward. This is wrong. I must set it right. And the heart tightens because, at bottom, it believes in two governments, God's in this circumstances. Right there is your moment of revelation. Step back 1 inch inside your own being and remember, I am believing in two powers. Name it. Then release it with the ancient creed that needs no embellishment. God is. Again, God is. Let the shoulders drop. Let the breath lengthen. Return to thou shalt have no other gods before me. We are not asked to be clever in the outer. We are asked to be faithful to one in the inner. From that fidelity, wisdom appears without strain, correction without condemnation, protection without fear. Well, you may say, but if I do not judge, I will be naive. I will let harm pass. No, discernment is not forbidden. Condemnation is. We shall speak of that in due time. For now, see this. The power in judgment is borrowed power, borrowed from our belief in a second cause. The power in peace is inherent, native, divine, one presence living, its own life as us. Be still and know that I am God. Not be still and figure it out. Not be still and weigh the pros and cons of a universe split in two. Be still and know God. One, indivisible. You can't use truth, but truth can use you. And truth cannot use a mind occupied as judge over a phantom adversary. As we consent to one power, the noisy machinery of inner litigation loses its purpose. Without our belief, it has no fuel. He maketh wars to cease unto the ends of the earth. Where do those wars cease first? In the theater of our thoughts, where we have stopped drafting charges against God's creation. We do not make peace by winning cases. We reveal peace by refusing the premise that there is an opposing power to defeat. Be not afraid. God is. Hold that, not as a sentence you repeat to silence fear, but as the unveiling of what always already is. In that unveiling, the false strength of judgment falls away, and quiet assurance takes its seat. And from that seat, guidance comes. Boundaries come, right action comes, but they come in the light of one, not from the panic of two. Now we must make a very gentle but very necessary correction, because almost at once the fear arises. If I stop judging, I will be naive. I will become permissive. I will let harm pass unchallenged. No, we are not asked to be blind. We are asked to be clear. We are not asked to ignore conduct. We are asked to refuse condemnation as the means of dealing with it. There is a holy distinction here, and if we will guard it, we will not lose 1 ounce of wisdom. We will in fact gain it. Be ye wise as serpents and harmless as doves. There is discernment in that wisdom, and there is gentleness in that harmlessness. Condemnation is neither wise nor gentle. Discernment is quiet. Condemnation is heated. Discernment is present. Condemnation is personal. Discernment listens. Condemnation lectures. How do we know which activity is moving in us? We know by its fruit. The wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits. When we are discerning, the atmosphere within is clear, almost cool. There is a spaciousness, a sense of being carried. When we are condemning, it is tight, hot, urgent. There is a pushing energy that demands a verdict now. One is spiritual listening. The other is mental warfare. Let us turn again to the Master's way. With the woman taken in adultery, he neither argued the law nor excused conduct. He simply withdrew condemnation. Neither do I condemn thee. And then, with that same quiet authority, he spoke a discernment that set a boundary. Go and sin no more. Do you see the order? First, the heat of judgment is removed so that love may govern. Then guidance, true, wise, corrective can be given without venom. If we reverse the order and try to correct while the fire of condemnation burns, we have already left the secret place and entered the arena of two powers. The wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. Now, of course, you will say, but something must be done. Yes, something guided, not something driven. Watch the inner evidence. If your peace has fallen, you have moved from wisdom into judgment. And anything you do in that state will carry the vibration of conflict. Let the peace of God rule in your heart as the umpire. If peace rules, you may say, no without hatred, yes without fear, wait without anxiety, go without boasting. If peace is absent, be still. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me beside still waters. Let the soul be restored before the mouth speaks or the hand acts. I knew a mother who feared that if she did not scold, her child would never learn. She experimented just for 1 week. Each time the old heat rose, she paused long enough to say inwardly, God is, let the shoulders drop, and asked, Father, what is the loving boundary? In place of a lecture, a short, clear sentence appeared. Playtime ends when toys aren't shared. She said it once, kindly, and held it. The home grew quieter. The child learned. And the mother wept because she saw that her scolding had been a confession of two powers, not a channel of wisdom. Discernment did more in one calm line than condemnation in a page of noise. Or a businessman, he discovered fraud in a partnership. The old mind demanded fury. Instead, he sat 10 minutes and withdrew his verdict. Be not afraid. God is. In that hush came a very simple step. Terminate the contract cleanly. Involve counsel. Bless the man inwardly. And say nothing destructive. He took those steps without heat. The outer situation corrected. The inner man remained whole. By their fruits ye shall know them. Clarity, order, protection, without self-righteous aftertaste. Here is a simple rule you can keep in your pocket. If you lose peace, you've crossed from discernment into condemnation. Stop right there. Do not trust the next sentence that wants to leap from your tongue or out of your pen. Return quietly, faithfully to God is. Again, God is. When peace returns, listen. My sheep hear my voice. You can't use truth, but truth can use you. And truth will not use a mind inflamed with private rightness. It will use a heart at rest in one power. We may discern wisely, indeed we must, but the very instant we condemn, we have stepped away from the one into the panic of two, and the case begins to prosecute us. Refuse the panic. Abide in the word. Let the word abide in you. End the inner sentence, and you will find yourself again under the shadow of the Almighty, where wisdom is peaceable and peace is wise, where boundaries are firm and love is free, where correction is clean and the heart is untroubled. Be still and know that I am God. Then act. Let us do this now, not as theory, but as practice. Take a recent irritation. Do not choose the greatest mountain. Pick a hill you climbed this morning. Perhaps the email with a sharp edge, the driver who cut too close, the tone at home that pricked you. Bring it near enough to feel, but not to drown in it. Now, watch the body. The throat tightens, the jaw sets, the stomach draws up, the breath grows shallow. Watch the mind. It begins to draft its brief, to assemble witnesses, to call the jury of your past, to testify that you have been right all along. See this mechanism begin to move. Do not fix it. Do not fight it. Notice it. Now name it. Quietly, inwardly, as if you were speaking to a child you love. This is judgment. It is not my authority. Say it again without heat. This is judgment. It is not my authority. In that naming, you step one breath back from the world. In that breath there is grace. Judge not, that ye be not judged. We are not issuing a moral slogan. We are identifying an activity that has no dominion in the kingdom of God. This is judgment. It is not my authority. Release now. How? Not by refuting each point in your own case, not by building the opposite case for them. No prosecution, no defense, no summation. Simply let the brief slip from your hand and fall to the floor of your inner court. Let the shoulders drop. Let the breath lengthen. Whisper, not to space, but to the presence that never left. Father, be still and know that I am God. Be not afraid. God is. Again, do not force it. God is. Rest the words in you until the words begin to rest you. Do you feel the first unclenching? A quiet that is not of your making, a hush that isn't empty but full. My peace I give unto you. Not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Not as the world, meaning not as a verdict won or an argument finished, but as a presence that is whole. Let silence do what your argument never could. Let it bathe the place that was burning. Do not reach for the case. Let it lie. You will be tempted to pick up one page, just one, and rehearse a clever line you could have said. Smile at that. This, too, is judgment asking for a little more time on the bench. Decline the robe. God is. Now, into that stillness. Do nothing. Simply wait the space of 2 or 3 slow breaths. Let the peace of God rule in your hearts. That word let is the whole gospel of inner government. Let it rule. If a word is to be spoken, it will present itself without strain. If an action is to be taken, it will be clear without fever. If nothing is to be done, you will know that too. And the knowing will not feel like avoidance. It will feel like being led beside still waters. He restoreth my soul. Restoration precedes movement. Peace precedes instruction. Let us cast it. Bring the scene back to mind lightly, as if from a distance. Does the same heat rise? If it flares, do not condemn yourself. We are in training. Notice again. Name again. Release again. God is. Each return is not failure. It is fidelity. Each return breaks a thread in the old habit and ties a thread in the new garment, the seamless robe of one power. There are not 2 powers, one to harm you and one to save you. There is one. To rest in one is to be unafraid, unhurried, unhooked from the drama that demanded your verdict. Well, of course, the mind will say, but what about tomorrow? What if they do it again? Tomorrow is not your authority either. Take no thought for the morrow. Abide now. Abide in the word. Let the word abide in you. You can't use truth, but truth can use you. It does not use a tongue sharpened by private rightness. It uses a heart quieted by presence. And out of that quiet, correction, if there is to be any, will be clean. And boundaries, if they are to be set, will be firm without sting. Hold this as your living demonstration. The very moment we stop rehearsing the case and return to God is, peace does not arrive from afar. It appears as a present fact. Keep this close. Go and tell no man. Prove it in secret 12 times before noon. When the next irritation taps your shoulder, you will know the way home. Notice, name, release, then rest in God is. And in that resting, wars cease in the only place they ever began, our own hearts. Be not afraid. God is. Now, having watched the case fall from our inner hands, we must take up the next grace that keeps it from being lifted again. Forgiveness. Not the theatrical kind. Not the moral heroism that congratulates itself for being large-hearted. But forgiveness as a law of God. Forgiveness as a spiritual act that withdraws condemnation and lets God's view be the only view. Remember, we are not arranging improved human attitudes. We are consenting to divine government. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. That is not a bargain. That is a statement of law. As we loose, we are loosed. As we withhold, we are withheld. The Master gave us the key while the nails were yet in his hands. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. He did not say, they are right. He did not sweeten the act. He saw through the act to the ignorance that gave it seeming life. They know not. In other words, the offense does not proceed from a second power. It proceeds from a darkness that does not understand the one. That is not approval, that is vision. To see ignorance is to deny independent power to evil. To say, Father, forgive, is to withdraw my personal verdict and yield the scene to the only judge, the only law, the only life. Be not afraid. God is. Why is this necessary? Because judgment binds. It binds us to the picture. Whatsoever ye bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever ye loose on earth shall be loosed. When we bind with condemnation, we stitch ourselves into the very fabric we dislike. We rehearse it, we carry it, we wear it. The soul cannot breathe there. But when we forgive, not by whitewashing, not by pretending, when we forgive as consent to one power, the stitch is cut. We are loosed into the recognition of God's government, where correction is clean and protection is sure. The wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. Forgiveness is not soft, it is strong, because it refuses two powers. Now, of course, you will say, I cannot forgive this. I have tried. Then do not try to do what you cannot. Remember the Master's other word. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. Use that humility. Turn within and say, Father, I cannot of myself forgive. Be thou the forgiveness in me. See this as thou dost see it. Then be still. Do not argue for your wound. Do not argue for their wrong. Hold the silence long enough for the sense of personal justice to cool. If words must rise, let them be these. Father, forgive. They know not what they do. Be not afraid. God is. In that petition, you have shifted agencies. You have allowed the quality of God love itself to do what your pride could not. I knew a nurse who had been spoken to harshly, unjustly, in a hallway crowded with witnesses. She carried the scene for days. It soured her mornings. She tried to forgive by willpower and only grew more tired. At last, in the small chapel between shifts, she whispered, Father, I have no forgiveness in me. Let thy forgiveness move through. She sat in the hush 3 minutes. When she rose, no romance had occurred, no apology, but the atmosphere had changed. Her next meeting with that supervisor was unheeded. A simple boundary was set without sting, and before the week ended, a private sorrow in the supervisor's home came to light. They know not. The picture softened because the nurse had withdrawn her verdict and allowed love to govern both of them. Do not confuse this with passivity. Forgiveness removes venom, not vision. Neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more. There is the order again, no condemnation, then a clear boundary. When you forgive as law, you do not give permission to harm, you give permission to God to rule your seeing. And out of that rule, you may say, no, without hate. Yes, without fear. Wait, without anxiety. Go, without boasting. The act will be clean because the heart is quiet. So here is our gentle practice. When the memory returns and it will do not wrestle with it, notice, name, release. Then add this. Father, forgive. They know not what they do. Let thy view be my only view. Sit one breath longer than you want to. Feel the shoulders drop. Let the peace of God rule. If the hurt protests, say once more without strain, God is. God is. Hold it long enough for the old sentence to lose its voice. In that space, forgiveness is not your virtue. It is his activity. And where his activity is welcomed, obstruction dissolves, wars cease, and we find ourselves again under the shadow of the Almighty. Keep this close. Go and tell no man. Prove it quietly today. Withdraw condemnation. Ask the Father to be forgiveness in you, and watch how quickly the air clears when there is no judge left to feed the storm. Now, having laid down the gavel and asked the Father to be forgiveness in us, we must learn to stay where the storm cannot follow. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Not he that visits, not he that peeks in on holy days, but he that dwelleth. Abiding is the condition of fruit. Abide in me, and I in you. Herein is my Father glorified, that ye bear much fruit. Fruit health, harmony, wholeness, completeness, perfection, infinite good ripens on the branch that remains joined. So with us it is in proportion that we dwell in God that peace ceases to be an episode and becomes an atmosphere. What is this abiding? Let us be very plain. Abiding is not thinking about God. Abiding is resting where God's presence is consciously felt. It is prior to the sentences we form about spirit. Judgment cannot enter there because judgment requires narration, prosecution, a mental court in session. Abiding has no bench, no docket, no opposing counsel. It is the hush before the word, the stillness in which be still and know that I am God, is not a command we obey, but a fact we discover. Be not afraid. God is. How do we come there? We do not climb. We sink. Gently we sink beneath the surface of thinking. When you have noticed judgment and released it, do not return at once to rearranging thoughts. Remain. Let attention drop from the forehead to the heart as a leaf descends in a quiet garden. Whisper, if you must, only a name, Father, or the creed that needs no ornament. God is. Then say no more. Let the breath lengthen. Allow thoughts to pass as birds across the sky. Do not net them. Do not follow them. Consent to be carried. In him we live and move and have our being. Feel that being lived without describing it. Now, of course, the mind will tug at your sleeve. You should be doing. You should be planning. You should be improving this silence. Smile. That is the prosecutor asking for a short extension. Decline it kindly. Stay one breath longer than you want to. In that extra breath, the roots go down. In that extra breath, the word begins to abide in you, and you in the word. You can't use truth, but truth can use you. And truth uses a heart that has ceased to narrate its own righteousness. Why can't judgment come here? Because in the secret place there is only one, presence acknowledged. Judgment survives on a premise of twoness, me versus them, right versus wrong, fear versus help. Here, that scaffolding has no footing. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Not a sentence to be debated, a climate to be breathed. The one fills awareness without contest, and where the one is consciously felt, the heat of condemnation has no oxygen. Test it quietly. Sit 3 minutes no longer, and after you have noticed and named and released, do nothing but rest in God. Do not ask for outcomes. Do not negotiate improvements. Be content to be under the shadow of the Almighty. You may feel nothing dramatic. Do not look for romance. Look for the subtle evidence. The shoulders sink. The breath grows honest. A softness comes into the gaze. When you rise, guidance will appear, of itself or not. Either way, you will not be driven. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me beside still waters. Restoration, then leading. Peace, then instruction. This is how peace becomes stable. Not by rehearsing victory, not by perfecting our case, but by learning to remain after release. Notice, name, release, remain. Let the remain be the seal on the act, the moment when the word abides in you. Keep it quiet, go and tell no man, prove it in secret, morning and noon and night. Each time you sink beneath the stream of thought and rest in the felt presence, you loosen another knot in the old habit and tie another in the seamless robe of one power. Be not afraid. God is. Stay there long enough for those two words to stop being words and become the atmosphere in which you live and move and have your being. Now, let us be very honest with one another. You will not leave this room 5 minutes before the old temptation taps your shoulder. The headline will flare. The message will ding. The memory will knock with its familiar fist. And the mind, schooled for years to be judge and jury, will volunteer for duty. Do not be surprised. Do not sigh. I have failed. This is not failure. This is training. Temptation is not a personal flaw. It is the old habit asking for its former job. It is a rehearsal notice, not a verdict. Watch and pray that ye enter not into temptation. Not that temptation will never appear, but that we need not step into it and wear it. Now, of course, you will say, but I just came from the secret place. I was quiet. I felt the hush. Yes, and now the world rings your bell to see if you will sell your peace for a small coin. This is the classroom. We are not being examined to be shamed. We are being exercised to be strengthened. The practice is not never being tempted to judge. The practice is returning quickly, gently, faithfully to God. Be not afraid. God is. So, here is our moment-to-moment way. A shock hits. Do not argue. Do not draft. Let the shoulders drop. Let the breath tell the truth again. Whisper within, not to air, but to the presence Father. Then, very simply, be not afraid. God is. Do not add flourish. Do not beg for outcomes. Just God is. This is your lifeline, because it is not a string you hold. It is the sea that holds you. You can't use truth, but truth can use you. And truth will use you the instant you stop appointing yourself as the world's magistrate. The mind will protest. But this one is urgent. This one is wrong. This one is personal. Yes, the prosecutor always insists upon urgency. Smile inwardly and give it no bench. Name it. This is judgment seeking its old authority. Then withdraw the commission. It is not my authority. Release the case again. Do not scold yourself for having picked it up. That is merely judgment turned inward. wearing a better suit. If you condemn yourself for judging, you have doubled the habit. Stop, return. There is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Christ Jesus. No condemnation outward, no condemnation inward. Only return. I knew a man who set a small bell on his desk, not to ring, but to see. Each time his phone lit with news, he would notice the inch of heat in his chest and let his gaze drift to that quiet bell. It became his reminder. Be not afraid. God is. 3 breaths. Then, if an email must be written, it is written without venom. If a call must be made, it is made without haste. If nothing must be done, nothing is done cleanly. He found in 2 weeks that his work improved and his body stopped bracing every hour. The interruptions had not changed. He had. Consider Peter's question. How oft shall my brother sin against me and I forgive him? Till 7 times? The answer came. Until 70 times 7. Why? Because forgiveness, like abiding, is a law applied as often as the temptation appears. 70 times 7 returns, if need be. Each return breaks the old thread and ties a new one. Each return is fidelity, not failure. Pray without ceasing does not mean speak prayers without rest. It means do not stop returning to the seat of God's government within you. Now, do not wait for a quiet room to practice. Train in the interruptions, in the grocery line when a tone sounds sharp, in the car when the lane closes and tempers flare, at the sink when the mind begins its old argument. 3 movements. Notice the heat, the speed, the tightening. Name judgment, not authority. Release God is. If you can, remain 1 breath longer than you want to. That extra breath is your investment in abiding. It is the inch where dominion returns. Well, of course, there will be a day you forget an hour at a time when you remember, do not write an inner report against yourself. Smile and say, Father, I wandered, here I am. That humility is the open door. Return unto me, and I will return unto you. In truth, he never left. Only our attention did. We are not earning forgiveness. We are consenting to one presence. There are not 2 powers, one tugging you back, one pushing you out. There is one, and that one awaits your consent to govern your seeing now. Keep this quiet. Go and tell no man. Prove it in the small places before you try your hand at the large. You will be tempted in 5 minutes. Good. Now you may practice in 5 minutes. Be not afraid. God is. Repeat it until the words are no longer a sentence you say to still fear, but a climate that stills you before fear speaks. Return quickly. Return gently. Return faithfully. The peace of God is not far. It is present, discovered. The instant judgment is not. And as this returning becomes your unhurried reflex, you will find that the interruptions have lost their power to interrupt because there is only one power and you are abiding in it. Now we must speak of gratitude because without this correction, peace will seem to come and go with the weather of circumstance. Gratitude, as most of us learned it, is a coin we pay when something pleases us. Health returned, a bill met, a door opened. Well, of course, that is better than complaint, but it is still commerce. It is still, in a hidden way, judgment. This is good, that is bad. And when the scene changes as it will, the heart falls again, and we discover that our thanksgiving was chained to outcomes. That is not the thanksgiving that protects peace. In everything give thanks, not for every outcome, but in everything because God is present in everything. Gratitude that is spiritual is not a tip left on the table of fortune. It is recognition of Spirit's activity as the only cause. Let us be very plain. We are not to be grateful for any form of good, but for the Spirit which underlies that form. Forms shift. Spirit stands. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above. From above meaning from the invisible activity of God, not from the accident of timing. If our gratitude is for the paycheck, we will sorrow when it shrinks. If our gratitude is for applause, we will grieve when it fades. But if our gratitude is for the life that feeds, for the love that governs, for the law that orders, then when forms alter and they will, we remain steady, because our thanks is anchored where there is no shadow of turning. I remember a dear woman who wrote me a glowing note. I am so grateful, Mr. G, for that extra sum that came in. It proves God loves me. Now, of course, she had a wrong sense of gratitude. I could say thank you, but inwardly I smiled because I knew it wasn't the check. The check will come and go. The love of God does not come and go. I wrote back, your gratitude is too small. Be grateful not that money appeared, but that a living witness has touched you, that God is present here and now. Be grateful that grace functions on earth today, and that you have eyes to see it. Direct the thanks to the source, not the coin, and your peace will not be taxed when the next bill arrives. Do you see the link to judgment? Outcome gratitude secretly keeps a ledger. It compares today with yesterday, you with another, this door with that delay. Comparison is judgment, wearing a pretty ribbon. It says, this better, that worse, and peace rises and falls as numbers do. But gratitude for Spirit dissolves comparison because Spirit is not measured. You cannot say, God is more today than yesterday. God is. In that simple creed, thanksgiving becomes a climate, not a reaction. Enter his gates with thanksgiving and into his courts with praise. The gate is not opened by a favorable headline. It opens when the heart recognizes presence before the headline speaks. Try it in a small scene. The plan shifts at work. The mind tightens. The old habit drafts its brief. Pause. Notice. Name. Release. Now add this. Father, I thank thee that thou hearest me always. I thank thee that thy grace is functioning though my eye sees rearrangement. Do you feel the floor steady? Nothing has improved yet, but peace rises because gratitude has turned from picture to presence. And strangely, this is the way of the kingdom. Out of that steady gratitude, the next right step becomes visible without strain. Let the peace of God rule in your hearts. Let it rule by thanking Spirit first, last, and in between. This is not passivity. It is purity. It keeps the heart from bargaining with God and keeps the mind from installing two powers, one to thank when it pleases, another to fear when it shifts. There are not two powers. Be not afraid. God is. Hold your thanks there. Morning and night quietly. Go and tell no man thanks Spirit that God is, that love governs, that grace operates. Then if fruit appears, bless the tree, not merely the apple. If a door closes, bless the hand that guides to a better door. True gratitude rests in spirit. And where gratitude is spiritual, peace is not dependent on changing conditions. It abides because it is thanking the one that abides. Now let us face the simple cost of judgment, because until we see the bill, we will keep paying it in small coins all day. When we hold condemnation, we withhold forgiveness. And when we withhold forgiveness, we withhold love. It is that direct. With what measure ye mete, it shall be measured to you again, not as punishment, but as the law of our own opening and closing. Judgment closes the heart. Love cannot pass through a closed gate. Forgiveness opens it. Love finds its own way once the latch is lifted. Be not afraid. God is. Remember, we are not appointed as spiritual prosecutors. The kingdom has no need of district attorneys. We are called to be transparency, clean window pane through which God's love may appear in human scenes. The love of God is shed abroad in our hearts by the Holy Ghost. Shed abroad, not eked out, not rationed, shed, as light pours through glass. The glass does not invent the light. It refrains from smudging it. So with us, it is in proportion as we cease rehearsing verdicts that love, which is always God's, appears as patience, gentleness, wise firmness, quiet strength. What does this look like in the body, in your living? Less tightening at the first sound of offense. Fewer court sessions played behind the eyes at 2 a.m. A hand that reaches before the mind drafts a policy. A tone that settles the room without a speech. By this shall all men know that ye are my disciples, if ye have love one to another. Not if you carry the best arguments, not if you win the most cases, but if love finds you usable. Now, of course, the question rises, if I do not judge, will I become naive? No. Perfect love casteth out fear, not discernment. We may discern wisely, see facts, set boundaries, but the moment we condemn, we leave the stream and stand on the bank, shouting at water we no longer feel. In love, a no is as clean as a yes, a delay as merciful as an approval. Neither do I condemn thee. Go, and sin no more. See the order? No condemnation, love present in the clear line. Judgment craves punishment. Love craves wholeness. Let us be humble about agency. You can't use truth, but truth can use you. We do not wield love like a tool to fix people. The fixer is only the judge in a better suit. We present ourselves emptied of verdicts, and grace does its own work, sometimes as silence, sometimes as a question, sometimes as a firm boundary that bears no sting. When the inner gavel is laid down, words begin to come without heat, and actions without a tremor of self-importance. It is the Father that dwelleth in me. He doeth the works. Test this in the next small scene. The child spills again, the neighbor speaks sharply, the colleague forgets. Notice the first heat. Name it judgment, not authority. Release it, God is. Then wait, half a breath longer than you want. In that half breath, watch what rises. Perhaps an arm that reaches instead of a tongue that lashes. Perhaps a question, are you all right? Instead of a lecture. Perhaps a boundary stated once, calm, and left to stand. Out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. When judgment is dropped, the river resumes its course. And what of identity? We stop being the one who holds the world together by verdicts, and we become the one through whom love bears witness that God is governing. The face softens, the room quiets, not because we have made it so, but because we have ceased to interrupt the one that makes it so. Gratitude steadies us in spirit. Forgiveness removes the dam. Abiding keeps the channel clear. Then love, God's love, not ours, moves without our strain. Keep this quiet. Go and tell no man. Prove it in secret today. Lay down one verdict. Withhold no love, and see whether peace is not instantly enlarged. Be not afraid. God is. Now, let us bind this into a simple, quiet discipline, a 30-day experiment, not in hearing, but in doing. You will find a change in your life in 30 days, less than 30 days, if you will consent to practice not occasionally, but daily. Not publicly, but inwardly. Keep it locked up within you. Go and tell no man. It is what we do with the word that produces the fruit. Be not afraid. God is, first, daily forgiveness. Each morning, before the world asks for your verdict, bring one person, one event, or one self-judgment into the light and lay down the gavel. Do not rehearse the case. That is judgment renewing its lease. Simply whisper within, Father, I cannot of mine own self forgive. Be thou the forgiveness in me. Father, forgive. They know not what they do. Do not try to feel generous. Consent to one power. Withdraw condemnation and let God's view be the only view. If the mind insists upon returning to the scene, repeat gently, no force, Father, forgive. Then let it rest. One scene a day, no more. In 30 days, you will discover that the habit energy of judging has weakened because you have stopped feeding it one quiet fast at a time. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. As we loose, we are loosed. Second, daily abiding. Set apart a small space, 3 minutes will do, and do not bargain for outcomes. Sit, breathe, and sink below thought into presence. A single word is enough, Father, or that creed which needs no ornament. God is. Say it once or twice, then fall silent. No petitions, no plans. Rest where God's presence is consciously felt. Be still and know that I am God. Do not measure the session. Do not test for fireworks. The fruit grows in secret. In 10 days, 20 days, you will notice that your breath comes honest more quickly. Your shoulders drop without a command, and the room in you grows larger. He that dwelleth in the secret place abides under the shadow of the Almighty. Third, the daily mantra in interruptions. We will not be out of the door 5 minutes before temptation rings the bell. Train here. When the shock lands, do not argue. Do not draft. Notice the heat. Name it. Judgment, not authority. Release it with the pivot. Be not afraid. God is. No flourish. No debate. God is. Say it inwardly as you read the headline, as the tone sharpens, as the delay appears. Each time you refuse the old rehearsal and return to one power, the thread of fear thins. The authority of the prosecutor wanes. Pray without ceasing means return without ceasing. 70 times 7 if need be, each return fidelity, not failure. Let us tie the day with a gentle review at evening, not a courtroom, a sanctuary. Ask, where did I judge? Name one place. Whisper, Father, forgive. They know not what they do, and I know not what I do when I judge. Be thou my seeing. Thank Spirit, not outcomes, that grace was present all day, whether or not you noticed. Enter his gates with thanksgiving, then rest. No self-accusation. That is the same habit wearing a different robe. There is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Christ Jesus. Only return. Now, of course, you will say, will 3 minutes and a whisper change your life? Test it. Do this daily. Keep it quiet. Keep it honest. You can't use truth, but truth can use you. and truth uses the willing, steady heart more readily than the excited, intermittent one. In less than 30 days, you will not need a clock to tell you when peace abides. You will notice that peace has become the air you breathe, the unhurried reflex of your seeing. Judgments may still knock, but they will find no bench prepared, no pen ready to sign their warrants. The belief in two powers will have lost its drama. The one will have gained your consent. This is our experiment. Daily forgiveness to loosen the knot. Daily abiding to rest in the presence that was never absent. Daily God is to pivot from two-ness to one. Do it without announcement. Prove it in secret. If fruit appears, health, harmony, wholeness, completeness, perfection, infinite good, bless the source, not the form. And if the picture shifts, hold steady. Be not afraid. God is in that steadfast practice. The habit energy of judgment fades like a storm out to sea, and peace, instant, native, God's own, becomes the climate in which we live and move and have our being. Beloved, let us gather the thread and tie it with a simple knot you can wear beneath your garments, where no one sees but the Father who seeth in secret. The warfare, we learned, was not out there. It was the inner court where judgment convened, measuring, comparing, condemning. The very moment we laid down the gavel, forgiveness began. And where forgiveness begins, peace appears not as a prize earned by a better case, but as the native atmosphere of abiding. Judge not that ye be not judged, was not a scold but a door, and the door opens onto this. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth. Peace is not the wage of winning. It is the witness that we have come home to the one. Let this be our one-line creed, the private answer to every appearance, the reply you do not shout to the street but whisper to the presence. Be not afraid. God is. Say it when the headline rises, when the tone sharpens, when the memory drags its chain, when your own heart accuses you at midnight. Be not afraid. God is. Do not add flourish. Do not bargain for outcomes. Let it be the key that fits the inner door, and nothing more. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, stayed held, returned, settled. Be not afraid. God is. We need not decorate this truth, and we dare not argue it. Keep it quiet. Go and tell no man. Do not try to win debates with it. Do not post it on the corners of the marketplace. Prove it by fruit, and fruit is quiet. The branch does not trumpet its grapes. It abides. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High abides under the shadow of the Almighty. Abide, and let the room discover that your speech carries less heat and more light, that your hands move with fewer tremors, that your eyes no longer take attendance of offenses. That is the witness. The kingdom of God is within you, within, not in applause, not in acquittals, not in outcomes. Keep the work interior. You can't use truth, but truth can use you, and truth uses the heart that keeps its chamber door closed and its lamp trimmed. Now, of course, the mind will ask for more, another method, a louder sentence, a public proof. Smile gently and decline. End judgment, and you will find yourself already in God's peace. That is the hidden truth. Forgive by withdrawing condemnation, and you release the channel by which love flows of its own nature. Abide, and peace rests upon you as a mantle before a single condition has altered. Gratitude to spirit steadies the floor so that when conditions shift, you do not. There are not two powers here contending for your soul. There is one awaiting your consent to govern your seeing. Consent with this little word, God is. And now, an invitation you know already by practice. Return. Return again and again to the secret place until it feels more real than the mind's courtroom, more solid than the urgencies that parade as authority. When you find yourself in the corridor of argument, remember the door, open it, and sit one breath longer than you want. In that breath, dominion is restored. In that breath, the word begins to abide in you. Let no self-accusation follow you there. Neither do I condemn thee. Rise quietly. Carry peace as you would carry water without spilling, without display. If any should ask the reason for your hope, bless them inwardly, and let your answer be the transparency of a life not driven by verdicts. Peace I leave with you, said the Master. Receive it here, not later now, by ending the inner trial. Be not afraid. God is. Keep it hidden in your heart. Prove it in silence. And as you do, may the love of God be shed abroad in your heart. May His grace be the air you breathe. And may His peace keep you heart, mind, and body under the shadow that never moves. Thank you. Bless you.